Hello, I am recording the video and today's topic is what is entity framework. Prior to .NET 3.5, we often used to write ADO.NET code or enterprise data access block to save or retrieve application data from the underlying database. We used to open a connection to the database, create a data set to fetch or submit the data to the database, convert data from the dataset to .NET objects or vice versa to apply business rules. This was cumbersome and error-prone process. Microsoft has provided a framework called Entity Framework to automate all these database related activities for your application. Entity Framework is an open source ORM framework for .NET application supported by Microsoft. It enables developers to work with data using objects of domain specific classes without focusing on the underlying database table and column where this data is stored. With the entity framework, developers can work at a higher level of abstraction when they deal with data and can create and maintain data oriented application with less code compared with traditional applications. Official definition: entity framework is an object or object relational mapper that enables .NET developer to work with the database using .NET objects. It eliminates the need of most of the data access code that developers usually need to write. As per the above figure, entity framework fits between the business entities, domain classes and the database. It saved data stored in the properties of business entities and also retrieve data from the database and convert it to business entities object automatically. Entity framework features: closed platforms. EF Core is a cross platform which can run on Windows, Linux and Mac. Modeling: EF creates an EDM entity data model based on POCO plain old CLR object entities with getSet property of different data types. It uses this model when querying or saving entity data to the underlying database. Querying: EF allows us to use LINQ queries C# VB.NET to retrieve data from the underlying database. The database provider will translate this LINQ queries to the database specific query language. For example, SQL for a relational database. EF also allows us to execute raw SQL queries directly to the database. Change tracking: EF keeps track of changes occurred to instance of your entities property values which need to be submitted to the database. Saving: EF execute, insert, update and delete commands to the database based on the change occurred to your entities when you call the save changes method. EF also provides the asynchronous save change asynchronous method. Concurrency: EF uses optimistic concurrency by default to protect overwriting changes made by another user since data was fetched from the database. Transactions: EF perform automatic transaction management while querying or saving data. It also provides option to customize transaction management. Caching: EF includes first level of caching out of the box, so repeated querying will return data from the cache instead of hitting the database. Built-in conventions. EF follows conventions over the configuration programming pattern and includes a set of default rules which automatically configure the EF model. Configuration. EF allows us to configure the EF model by using data annotation attributes or Fluent API to override default conventions. Migrations. EF provides a set of migration commands that can be executed on the Nuclei packages manager console or the command line interface to create or manage underlying database schema. Entity Framework latest version. Microsoft introduced Entity Framework in 2008 with .NET Framework 3.5. Since then, it released many versions of Entity Framework. Currently, there are two latest versions of Entity Framework, EF6 and EF Core. The following tables list important difference between the EF6 and EF Core. EF6 first released in 2008 with .NET Framework 3.5 SP1. EF4 first released in June 2016 with .NET Core 1.0. EF6 stable and features rich. EF4 new and evolving. EF6 Windows only. EF4 Windows Linux OS X. EF6 works on .NET Framework 3.5 plus. EF4 works on .NET Framework 4.5 plus and .NET Core. EF6 open source. EF Core is also open source. EF6 version history. EF6 released on 2013, EF5 released on 2012, EF4.3 released on 2011, EF4.0 2010, EF1.0 or 3.5 2008. How Entity Framework works. Here you will see an overview of how Entity Framework works. Entity Framework API EF6 and EF Core includes the ability to map domain classes to the database schema, translate and execute link queries to SQL, track changes occurred on entities during their lifetime, and save changes to the database. There is some feature which is available in the EF like the conceptual model, storage model, mappings, querying, saving, etc. Thank you.